this is Mr. Ellison. Welcome back. Now, whenever I'm not in the classroom doing math, I love being in the outdoors. I'm a real science fanatic and an avid naturalist, and I just love being in the outdoors around nature, and I think it's beautiful. Now, one thing I'm going to show you guys today is I'm going to introduce to you a little critter that I found outside in my backyard the other day, and it's the Texas toad. Now, this toad is native to Texas, and it's native to some of the states in the southwest, Oklahoma and Louisiana, but it's fairly common here in Texas. And its genus name is Bufo, and its species name is Speciosus. And they're classified as amphibians. So that means that they share the same class with frogs, with newts, and also with salamanders. And an amphibian is nothing more than an animal that spends part of its life in water and part of its life on land. Now, frogs, from the very beginning, they come from an egg. And once they hatch from that egg, there are tadpoles. Now, tadpoles are little creatures that swim around in the water. They kind of look like little fish. And when they're born, they have a tail, and they have gills, and they breathe in the water. And as they get older, they start to lose their tail, and they grow little hind legs first. And then they grow their front legs, and they begin to mature and get prepared for life on land. And once they've prepared for life on land, they lose their gills. And they come out on land, and that's where they spend the rest of their life. But that doesn't mean they don't return back to the water for feeding, but they also return back to the water for breeding and laying eggs. And also sometimes to hunt food, because they like hunting food in moist places where a lot of bugs are. Now, as they mature, like I said, they lose their tail and they lose their gills. Now, toads here, on the other hand, they differ a little bit from frogs in the fact that they have bumpy, rough skin, like seen here. There's little bumps on his skin, and he's rough. So he's prepared, and he's built for a life on land, where he could be dependent on land and live for days on end away from water. Frogs, on the other hand, have soft, smooth, and very wet skin. And they depend on moisture, so you'll usually find frogs around places where there's water or where there's lots of moisture, because they depend on it, because they breathe through their skin. They exchange gases through their skin. But toads, on the other hand, they don't have to live around water exclusively because of their bumpy skin. Now, toads, like this Texas toad here, are classified as vertebrates, which means they have a backbone or a spinal column or a vertebral column. And they're cold-blooded, so unlike mammals, they derive their temperature regulation from their surroundings. So whenever it's very cold outside, like during the winter time and late fall and early spring, you'll usually find them hibernating, because that's a way to conserve energy. And whenever the summertime rolls around, in the late spring and early fall, you'll see them out and about hunting, because it's warmer outside, and whenever it's warmer, they're able to get their blood flowing and move around. Now, if you look behind the frog, you'll see along the sides of his head, you'll see these little, almost translucent or transparent little membranes that are next to his eyes. Now, those are called his tympanic membranes. Now, the tympanic membrane is his external ear. That's how they hear. Now, also, if you look at his eyes really closely, when he blinks, he has this little translucent, almost like a cataract over his eye. Well, that is a lens cap, and whenever he goes into the water or swims, it protects his eyes whenever he's underwater. And it also keeps things out, kind of like our eyelids are used to protect us from dust and from things getting in our eyes. The little cap and the ability to blink their eyes allows them to do the same thing. Now, since you obviously can't see his tongue because his mouth is closed, I will tell you that his tongue is attached to the front of his mouth, and it's used for flicking. Now, whenever they find something they want to eat, they'll aim toward it, and they'll flick the tongue out, and they'll catch it. And the tongue is sticky, and it'll catch whatever it is that they're going after and retrieve it back into the mouth. And it's very interesting to watch him do that. I've seen him do it 1,000 times. Sometimes I'll even sit out there. When I was growing up, I feel really bad for saying this, but I used to sit out on the front porch with the local toads out around my house, and I'd flick BBs across the driveway, and they'd eat them, and then I'd dump them out, and I'd start all over again. It was kind of funny. But another thing to know about the Texas toad is that they're carnivorous. Okay, they eat insects, and they eat insects such as mosquitoes. I've even seen them eat roaches and also flies and gnats, which not only they're carnivorous, but they're insectivorous, which means they eat a lot of insects. Now, these are a really good critter to have around your garden, especially if you have tomatoes or things that bugs like to climb on. I would recommend, if you do have a vegetable garden or a flower garden, to put about 4 or 5 of these little boogers inside your garden, and they'll keep them clean for your bugs. And they'll hibernate under, or they'll crawl up under the soft, loose dirt, and they'll make that little flower bed their home. Now, one other thing I want you guys to know about the Texas toad is they have glands behind their eyes, these 2 little glands right here. And I'm not going to mess with them because those are used for defense. And if you squeeze them, this little white fluid comes out. It's a toxin. And what that toxin is used for is self-defense against predators. Now, usually you'll see domestic dogs and cats. They'll play around with these when they're puppies, and when they're puppies and kittens, and they'll bite and tend to bite on the toads, toward the toad's head. And whenever they do, they'll expel this fluid, and it gets in their mouths, and it's really bitter. Now, I know this for a fact because one time I was handling a toad, and I was trying to get it away from a dog, and it squirted me in the lip, and it was just sour tasting. I wanted to puke. So it's very, very toxic and very dangerous. Now, with some toad species, such as the cane toad, that toxin can be very, very harmful to pets. And if it gets in their mouths, sometimes their toxin is so dangerous it could kill an animal, and it could be really harmful to human beings. But they secrete that fluid when they're attacked, and it helps them buy some time to get away from predators. And another way that they usually get away from predators is a defense mechanism on it. They pee on you. Now, you pick them up, and they'll shoot a stream of pee on the ground, and they'll land on your shoes or land on your hands, and it's kind of gross, and you throw them down, and it buys them some time also to get away from predators. Now, toads are really interesting because they can be found just about anywhere. You can find them along river basins, you can find them behind your house, you can find them under a bunch of rocks, you can find them in a flower bed, in and around water, anywhere. You can find them in the desert, but in the hill country, even out here where I live in the hill country, they're pretty common in dry areas. I just wanted to introduce this lovely little Texas toad to you and give you a couple of factual things about them. Thank you for watching my little video. I hope you learned a little something about Texas toads. If you have any questions, like I said, shoot me an email on my blog. My blog is Michael Ellis, or Mr. Ellison Sasic.blogspot.com, and that's MrEllelsonSasic.blogspot.com. Thank you so much for viewing my video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.